Okay, so I want to start with two real people. Ronald Reed, gas station attendant, then janitor, small town in Vermont, wore a safety pin to hold his coat together, drove a used Toyota, ate at the same diner for 40 years. When he died at 92, nobody, not his kids, not his co-workers, not the people who saw him every single day, nobody had any idea. He had $8 million. After already donating $4.8 million to the local library and hospital. Then there's a doctor I know, I won't use his name, but he's real, good salary, respected career, smart man. Retired at 63. Broke. Like, actually had to go back to work broke. Same planet, same financial system, completely opposite outcomes. And here's what every finance channel gets wrong when they tell this story. They say, oh, it's about frugality or it's about compound interest, and yes, those things matter, but they are not the root cause. The root cause is something that nobody in the finance space is talking about right now, and by the end of this video I promise you it's going to completely change how you think about your own money. My name is Liana, welcome to the channel, and if you're new here, I break down complex finance stuff in a way that actually makes sense, no jargon, no judgment, just real talk. So let's get into it. Stick around because at the end of this video I'm going to share a pro tip that most people only figure out after making very expensive mistakes, and I don't want that to be you. The thing that nobody is saying out loud is this: your financial outcomes are not primarily determined by your income, your investment knowledge, or even your discipline. They are determined by your unconscious money personality type. You have one. Everyone does. And there's a good chance yours is quietly working against you right now, even if you think you're doing everything right. Let me explain what I mean. There are 4 main money personality types, and financial psychologists have been studying this for decades, but somehow it never makes it into the mainstream finance conversation. Type 1 is the spender. The spender doesn't have a spending addiction necessarily, they just derive genuine emotional comfort and identity from buying things. The problem isn't the latte, it's that the spender's brain has literally wired itself to release dopamine at the moment of purchase, not the moment of saving or investing. So every financial strategy you give a spender, budgets, savings goals, investment plans, gets unconsciously sabotaged by their own nervous system before it even starts. Type 2 is the hoarder. Now the hoarder sounds like the opposite problem, right? They save everything, never spend, huge bank balance. But here's the thing, the hoarder is also leaving massive wealth on the table, because they're so afraid of losing money that they never invest it. Their savings sit in a checking account earning next to nothing while inflation eats them alive at 3% per year. The hoarder built the habit of saving but never made the leap to wealth building. Type 3 is the avoider. This is probably the most common type in the audience right now, and I say that with complete kindness, no judgment. The avoider just doesn't look at their bank account. Doesn't open the investment app. Doesn't read the statements. Not because they're stupid, often it's the exact opposite. They're smart enough to know something is wrong, but the anxiety of facing it is so overwhelming that avoidance becomes the default. And avoidance is incredibly expensive over time. One of my friends avoided her retirement account for 7 years. 7 years. When she finally logged in, she had been contributing but everything was sitting in cash, the default setting, earning almost nothing. 7 years of missed compounding. And type 4 is the worrier. The worrier checks their portfolio 17 times a day. They read every finance article, they know all the terminology, they're always researching the next move. But the constant anxiety leads to bad timing decisions, selling when the market drops because the fear becomes unbearable, buying when the market is high because FOMO kicks in. The worrier works the hardest on their finances and often gets the worst results because emotion is driving every decision. Now here's why this matters so much, and this is the part that changes everything: no income level, no financial strategy, no investment vehicle can overcome a misaligned money personality. The doctor I told you about? Classic worrier-spender hybrid. Made great money, read finance content obsessively, but panic sold during 2008, upgraded his lifestyle every time his income increased, and spent 30 years making smart-sounding financial moves that were actually emotionally driven. Ronald Read? Whether he knew it or not, he had the rarest personality combination in finance, the accumulator. Calm, consistent, emotionally detached from his money, never watched it obsessively, never spent to feel better, never avoided it out of fear. The boring machine just ran. Now I want to pause here for 1 second because I know what some of you are thinking. Liana, this sounds like therapy, not finance. And look, I get it. But hear me out, because this is where it gets really practical. Once you identify your money personality type, you can actually design your financial system around it instead of fighting your own wiring. Comment below right now, spender, hoarder, avoider, or worrier. I genuinely read every single comment and I want to know which one you are, because your next financial move depends on it completely. Okay, so now let's talk about the actual mistakes, and I'm going to go deeper than anything you've seen on this topic, because most finance videos just list the mistakes without telling you the personality-specific fix. Mistake number 1, and this is the one that sneaks up on literally everyone who starts making real financial progress: lifestyle inflation. You know what it is. You've probably warned someone else about it. But knowing about it and being immune to it are completely different things. Here's the thing about lifestyle inflation that nobody explains properly: it doesn't happen all at once. It happens in 100 tiny, completely justifiable decisions. The promotion comes through, and a slightly nicer car feels earned. The bonus arrives, and the kitchen renovation feels responsible. The investment account hits a milestone, and the vacation that's been postponed for 3 years finally feels reasonable. Every single one of those decisions is individually defensible. Collectively, they eliminate the wealth-building engine that created the progress in the first place. I want to give you a number that will make this very concrete. Someone earning $150,000 with a 30% savings rate is building wealth on $45,000 a year. Someone earning $250,000, 60% more income, but with a 15% savings rate from lifestyle creep, is building wealth on $37,500 a year. The higher earner is actually accumulating less. The math is brutal and it doesn't care about your feelings. The personality-specific fix here is different for each type. If you're a spender, you need the percentage committed before the money hits your account, automatic transfer to investments the day of every paycheck, before you ever see the money. If you're a worrier, you need a written lifestyle budget, a guilt-free spending amount that's pre-approved, so you're not making anxious, reactive decisions every time you want to spend. The gap between income and spending is the entire engine. Protect it. Mistake number 2, and this one is going to sting a little, believing that complexity equals sophistication. As your wealth grows, you get access to fancier financial products. Alternative investments. Private equity. Hedge funds. Complicated tax strategies that require an actual diagram to explain. And there is a very seductive logic that says, I've graduated beyond simple approaches, serious money requires serious complexity. This belief costs people enormous amounts of money. The average hedge fund has underperformed a simple S&P 500 index fund over most 10-year periods. Alternative investments frequently charge fees that eat up their supposed advantages entirely. Complicated tax strategies often cost more in professional fees than they actually save in taxes. The financial industry profits from complexity because complexity justifies higher fees, creates dependency on advisors, and makes it nearly impossible for you to evaluate whether you're getting value. Meanwhile, a simple 3-fund portfolio in a Roth IRA, automated contributions, rebalanced once a year, outperforms the vast majority of sophisticated strategies. Before adding any complexity to your financial life, ask one question: what specific problem does this solve that a simpler approach doesn't? If you can't give a clear answer in one sentence, the complexity serves whoever is selling it, not you. Okay, curiosity loop number 2. I promised you a pro tip at the end of this video that most people only discover after making very expensive mistakes. We're getting close, keep watching. Mistake number 3, and this is the one that catches the most financially sophisticated people: using leverage because you can afford the risk. When your net worth was smaller, you avoided debt religiously. As wealth grows, investment leverage starts sounding reasonable. Margin loans against your portfolio. Borrowing against appreciated assets. Securities-backed lines of credit. The pitch makes logical sense. Why pay capital gains taxes when you can borrow at low interest against your gains? The problem is what happens in a down market. Leverage amplifies losses the exact same way it amplifies gains, except losses have a floor, 0, while gains are theoretically unlimited. A 30% market decline becomes a 50 or 60% decline in your equity when you're leveraged. Margin calls force liquidation at exactly the worst moment. The wealthy people who stay wealthy through multiple market cycles almost universally use significantly less leverage than they could access. Avoiding catastrophic losses matters more than maximizing gains. Say that again, avoiding catastrophic losses matters more than maximizing gains. Tattoo that somewhere. Mistake number 4 is something I see happen constantly to people who are becoming financially successful. They start helping everyone around them financially without any boundaries or strategy. And I want to say this with real compassion because the instinct comes from a genuinely good place. When your net worth was low, nobody asked. As it grows, the requests come. Family members with urgent needs, friends with promising business ideas, relatives who just need a short-term loan. The problem isn't helping, it's helping without structure. Financial help without accountability frequently enables the exact behaviors that created the problem. One loan becomes an expectation of future loans. One gift establishes a pattern. Relationships suffer because money changes dynamics in ways people don't anticipate. The most sustainable approach, if you give it as a gift mentally, never as a loan. Decide in advance how much you are willing to give to others per year, as a fixed budget, and treat any request after that budget is hit with kindness but a firm no. You are not obligated to fund everyone who asks. The wealth you built is yours. Protecting it is not selfishness, it's what allows you to help meaningfully when you choose to, rather than being depleted by unlimited requests. Now let's talk about income streams, because I've analyzed every major video on this topic and here's the thing they all miss. They give you the list of 15 streams and then leave you completely alone to figure out which one actually makes sense for you. Nobody builds a decision framework. So here's mine, and it's based entirely on your starting point. If your take-home pay is under $40,000, your first and only priority is capturing your full employer 401k match. This is a literal 100% return on your money before the market does anything. After that, a high-yield savings account, not the big bank your parents recommended, an online bank, because the difference between 0.39% and 4.5% on a $10,000 emergency fund is the difference between $39 a year and $450 a year for doing the exact same thing, just in a different account. The time to set it up is 30 minutes. The barrier is inertia, not complexity. If your take-home is $40,000 to $70,000, those two are still foundational, but now you layer in a Roth IRA. In 2026, you can contribute $7,000 a year if you're under 50, $8,000 if you're 50 or older. Every dollar inside grows completely tax-free. The compound interest math here is genuinely shocking, and I want to give you the number that changed how I think about this forever. If you invest $3,000 a year starting at age 25 and earn 8% annually, by 65 you have $777,000. You personally contributed $120,000. The market added $657,000. You funded less than 20 cents of every dollar. The machine built the rest. But here's the number that actually hurts: if you wait just 10 years, starting at 35 instead of 25, same contribution, same return, you end up with $339,000. Not 2/3. Less than half. You lost $438,000 by waiting a decade. That is not a rounding error. That is a different financial life. Now, and this is for everyone who is thinking, Liana, I'm 40, is it too late? No. Absolutely not. Here is the actual math for starting at 40 that nobody in the finance space shows you because it requires admitting that the start at 25 advice, while true, leaves a huge portion of the audience feeling hopeless. If you start at 40, invest aggressively at 20 to 25% of your income, capture multiple income streams, and let compounding run for 25 years to age 65, the outcome is still transformative. It's not $1.6 million. It might be $600,000 or $800,000. But $800,000 at 65 generating 4% safe withdrawal is $32,000 a year, on top of Social Security, from a machine you built from scratch in your 40s. Not too late. Just a different starting point. And here's the income stream decision framework by situation. If you have space, physical assets like a parking spot, a storage unit, a spare room, that's your first passive dollar. Parking spots earn $150 to $220 a month near any hospital, university, or stadium. Storage units listed on Neighbor average $160 a month for 30 minutes of actual work. These require zero investment, just the thing you already have. If you have capital but no extra space, dividend index funds. SCHD yields around 3.4% and has a 10-year annualized total return of around 12%. $10,000 generates $340 a year today. At a 10 to 14% dividend growth rate, that same $10,000 could generate over $800 a year in dividends a decade from now, without you adding a single dollar. If you have skills but no capital and no space, this is the one every video glosses over with: start a side hustle. But let me be specific in a way they never are. The knowledge you built inside your current job, security protocols, patient intake systems, logistics management, equipment maintenance, whatever your field is, someone will pay for access to that knowledge in an advisory or training context. The Bureau of Labor Statistics shows self-employed individuals in knowledge-based service roles earn a median of $15,000 to $22,000 annually above their primary income. Not because they're unusually talented. Because they packaged an existing skill and offered it to a new audience. The income doesn't require a new identity. It requires one extra offer made to the right person. And the most critical thing about multiple income streams that none of the videos I analyzed talked about, it's not just about the extra dollars. It's about forced selling protection. Here's what forced selling looks like and why it silently destroys more wealth than almost any other factor. The market drops, and it always drops eventually. That's not a possibility, it's a certainty. In 2008, the S&P fell 56% peak to trough. In 2020, it dropped 34% in 33 days. In 2022, it fell 19%. Every single one of those moments asked one question: can you afford not to sell? If you have only one income stream and you lose your job during a market downturn, or a medical bill arrives, or a family emergency happens, you may be forced to sell investments at exactly the wrong time. You lock in the loss permanently. The market recovers. Your account doesn't, because you're no longer in it. That is not a market problem. That is a structure problem. Ronald Read never sold a single position. That's documented. He held stocks he bought in the 1970s until his death in 2014. Not because he was some Zen master of emotional regulation. Because his expenses were modest enough and his dividend income was substantial enough that he never needed to pull from the machine. Multiple income streams don't just make you richer. One of three things: pick whichever matches your situation. If you don't have a high-yield savings account yet, open one today. 30 minutes, FDIC insured, 10 times your current return for doing nothing except switching. If you have savings but haven't opened a Roth IRA, do that today. The contribution limit is $7,000 in 2026, and every dollar you put in there grows tax-free for the rest of your life. If you have an unused parking spot, storage space, or spare room, list it this week. 15 minutes to set up, potentially $150 to $300 a month from an asset you're currently giving away for free. And one more thing, comment below with your money personality type. Spender, hoarder, avoider, or worrier. I genuinely read every comment, and in a future video I'm going to do a deep dive on the exact financial strategy for each personality type based on your responses. That comment? That's your subscription. Not the generic smash subscribe. Your comment tells me you're here, you're thinking about this, and you want the next video. The boring machine doesn't care whether you find it exciting. It runs whether you watch or not. The question is whether you built one. Ronald Reed built one on a janitor's salary and changed his town after he was gone. The machine is available to you right now. The account setup takes 30 minutes. The compounding clock starts the day you start, not the day you feel ready. Go build the machine.